When someone ignores you, it's easy to feel a whirlwind of emotions, hurt, confusion, anger, or even desperation to know why they've chosen to behave this way. These feelings are natural, but they often lead us down a path where we seek to reestablish connection at any cost, potentially compromising our own dignity in the process. What if, instead of reacting, you responded with silence? The power of silence as a response can shift the entire dynamic of the interaction and help you reclaim your sense of control and self-worth. Silence isn't just a lack of words, it's a deliberate act of self-respect, a way to communicate without speaking that you will not beg for anyone's attention. Silence in response to being ignored is not about playing games or engaging in power struggles. It's about setting boundaries and recognizing that not every action deserves a reaction. People who ignore others often expect one of two responses. Either you'll fight for their attention, confirming their sense of control, or you'll lash out, giving them an excuse to label you as overly emotional or reactive. By choosing silence, you deny them both outcomes. It's a way of saying, I value myself too much to entertain this behavior. When you embrace silence, it forces the other person to confront their own actions. They are left alone with their decision to ignore you, which can create discomfort and introspection. Instead of allowing them to shift the narrative to your reaction, the spotlight remains on their behavior. It's a powerful reminder that your worth is not dictated by someone else's willingness or unwillingness to engage with you. In this way, silence becomes a form of self-preservation, a shield against manipulation, and emotional harm. Moreover, silence allows you the space to reflect on your own emotions and needs. When someone ignores us, our first instinct is often to act impulsively, sending texts, making calls, or demanding answers. These actions might feel justified in the moment, but they often lead to regret later. Silence, on the other hand, gives you the time to process your feelings without external pressure. It helps you gain clarity about what you truly want and need in the situation. Are you seeking closure? Do you genuinely want to reconnect with this person, or is your response driven by fear of rejection or loss? These are questions that only silence and self-reflection can answer. Silence also conveys strength and emotional maturity. It shows that you are not easily shaken or swayed by others' actions. In a world where so many people react impulsively, the ability to remain composed and silent is a rare and powerful trait. It sets you apart as someone who values peace over chaos, dignity over drama. Others will begin to see you as someone who cannot be easily manipulated or drawn into unnecessary conflicts. Interestingly, silence can also make the other person question their own actions and motives. When someone ignores you, they often expect a certain level of pursuit. They assume you'll chase after them or seek their approval. When you don't, it disrupts their expectations and forces them to reevaluate the situation. They may start to wonder why you haven't reacted, or if they've misjudged your level of attachment. This shift in perspective can lead to a deeper understanding of their own behavior and in some cases even prompt them to reach out to you. It's important to note that choosing silence doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or avoiding confrontation forever. It's about responding in a way that prioritizes your mental and emotional well-being. Once you've had the time to process your emotions and gain clarity, you can decide whether addressing the issue is necessary. If you choose to speak up, you'll do so from a place of strength and calm rather than frustration or anger. For those who thrive on power dynamics, silence can be particularly unsettling. People who ignore others often enjoy the sense of control it gives them. When you respond with silence, you take away their perceived power. It's a subtle yet effective way of leveling the playing field. They no longer have the upper hand because you've shown that their actions do not define you or dictate your behavior. There's also a profound sense of liberation that comes with embracing silence. It frees you from the constant need for validation and approval from others. When you stop chasing after people who ignore you, you create space for healthier, more fulfilling connections. You begin to realize that your worth is not tied to how others treat you, but to how you treat yourself. In a broader sense, silence teaches you the art of letting go. Not everyone deserves your energy or your attention, and that's okay. By choosing not to engage with those who ignore you, you're sending a message to them and to yourself that you value your peace of mind above all else. This realization can be incredibly empowering, allowing you to navigate relationships with greater confidence and self-assurance. Ultimately, the power of silence lies in its ability to protect your dignity, preserve your energy, and communicate your worth without uttering a single word. It's a tool that, when used wisely, can transform the way you handle difficult situations and relationships. So the next time someone ignores you, remember this: your silence speaks volumes, and its message is one of strength, self-respect, and unshakable confidence. When someone treats you with indifference or takes you for granted, it's natural to feel hurt or even question your worth. However, there's an empowering truth that can transform how you approach such situations. Their behavior often has more to do with them than it does with you. Recognizing this is the first step in reclaiming your power and breaking free from the emotional weight of their neglect. By responding with silence, you send a strong message that their actions will not define your sense of self-worth. Instead, you assert that you are in control of how you react and who gets access to your energy. Silence is a powerful way to shift the dynamic because it disrupts their expectations. When someone ignores you, especially if they've done so repeatedly, they may anticipate an emotional reaction. They might expect anger, tears, or a desperate attempt to regain their attention. These reactions often validate their sense of control or confirm their assumptions about your dependency on them. But when you choose silence, you take away their ability to feed off your emotions. It's a clear and unwavering statement: I refuse to play this game. This choice isn't about punishing the other person, rather, it's about protecting yourself. Silence allows you to distance yourself from their behavior and see the situation from a healthier perspective. Sometimes we're so caught up in seeking closure or answers from others that we neglect our own emotional well-being. We become consumed by the desire to fix the relationship or understand why they're acting a certain way. But not every question needs an answer, and not every relationship is meant to be salvaged. By stepping back and allowing silence to take center stage, you create space to heal and rediscover your own strength. Moreover, silence gives you an opportunity to focus on your personal growth. When you're no longer expending energy on someone who isn't reciprocating, you can channel that energy into areas of your life that truly matter. You might find that this period of quiet reflection helps you identify patterns in your relationships or understand what you truly need from the people around you. Maybe you've been settling for less than you deserve, or perhaps you've been pouring too much into relationships without receiving the same level of effort in return. Silence gives you the clarity to address these imbalances and make choices that align with your values and self-respect. Interestingly, silence also serves as a mirror for the other person. When you stop chasing after them or demanding explanations, they're forced to confront their own behavior. They might begin to question their actions or realize the impact of their indifference. This self-reflection can lead to two possible outcomes. They might reach out to mend the relationship, or they might continue down the same path of avoidance. Either way, your silence has created an environment where their choices are their own, unclouded by your emotional reactions. This clarity benefits both parties, allowing you to see whether their intentions align with the respect and effort you deserve. Choosing silence doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending you're unaffected. It's about expressing those emotions in a way that prioritizes your peace and dignity. You're not ignoring your feelings. Instead, you're acknowledging them and choosing to process them privately. This approach helps you maintain control over your narrative and prevents the other person from using your vulnerability against you. It's an act of self-care that reinforces your sense of independence and emotional resilience. In many cases, silence can also create a sense of mystery. When you stop reacting, people begin to wonder what's going on in your mind. This curiosity can shift the power dynamic in your favor, especially if they've taken your presence or attention for granted. They may start to miss the energy and connection you once provided, realizing too late the value you brought into their lives. While this shouldn't be your primary motivation for choosing silence, it's a natural consequence of valuing yourself and refusing to settle for less. Silence is not about ignoring the problem, it's about prioritizing your response. By stepping back, you can assess the situation with a clear mind and determine whether it's worth pursuing further. This pause allows you to approach the issue from a position of strength rather than desperation. If you eventually choose to address the situation, you'll do so with confidence and self-assuredness, knowing that your worth isn't tied to their actions or approval. One of the most liberating aspects of embracing silence is the realization that you don't need anyone else to validate your feelings or existence. When someone ignores you, it can feel like a rejection of your value. But their behavior is not a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of their own limitations, insecurities, or priorities. By choosing silence, you take back the narrative and remind yourself that your worth is inherent, not something that others can grant or take away. In the end, silence becomes a form of self-love. It's a way of saying, I am enough and I deserve to be treated with respect. It's a reminder that you have the power to define your own boundaries and decide who gets access to your time and energy. And most importantly, it's a declaration that your peace of mind is non-negotiable. So the next time someone chooses to ignore you, remember this: your silence speaks volumes, and its message is one of unwavering strength and self-respect. When someone ignores you and you respond with silence, an interesting shift often occurs. Your lack of reaction forces the other person to confront their own feelings and decisions in a way they may not have expected. This space you create by withholding your words, emotions, and presence can stir a deep sense of introspection in them. It's not about playing games or manipulating emotions. Instead, it's about recognizing the power of absence and the role it plays in helping others reassess their actions and intentions. People often underestimate the impact of losing someone's attention or energy until it's no longer there. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their behavior back to them. In relationships, especially when they are in balance, one person may begin to take the other for granted. They become accustomed to the support, validation, or presence of the other person without fully appreciating it. When you go silent, you disrupt this dynamic. Suddenly, the constant flow of energy they relied on is gone, and they're left to question what went wrong and why they feel the loss so acutely. This introspection can be uncomfortable for the person who initially ignored or dismissed you. Without your voice filling the silence or your actions demonstrating your commitment, they're left to grapple with their own emotions. They may feel guilt for taking you for granted, confusion about their feelings, or even fear of losing you entirely. This internal dialogue is something they can't avoid because the absence of your presence speaks louder than any confrontation or argument ever could. By choosing silence, you give them the opportunity to truly consider your worth and the role you played in their life. It's in these quiet moments of reflection that people often realize the value of what they had. They remember the times you supported them, the ways you showed up for them, and the depth of the connection you shared. Sometimes people don't fully understand the significance of someone's presence until they experience the void left in their absence. Your silence also forces them to take accountability for their actions or lack thereof. In situations where someone has been dismissive, indifferent, or even hurtful, silence removes the distractions and excuses they might use to justify their behavior. They can no longer point to your reactions as the problem or deflect responsibility by focusing on how you've responded. Instead, they're left to confront the truth of their actions and the impact those actions have had on the relationship. Interestingly, silence can also create a sense of intrigue or mystery. When you stop engaging, it often piques the curiosity of the other person. They wonder why you're no longer reaching out, why you've chosen to step back, and what's going on in your mind. This curiosity can lead them to seek answers, driving them to reflect more deeply on the situation. In some cases, it may even prompt them to reach out to you, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely want to understand and reconnect. However, it's important to note that silence isn't about manipulating someone into caring or reaching out. It's about prioritizing your peace and well-being. By stepping back and choosing not to engage, you're setting a boundary that says, I will not allow myself to be treated as an afterthought. This boundary is essential for maintaining self-respect and ensuring that you're not constantly pouring energy into a relationship that doesn't reciprocate it. For the person on the receiving end of your silence, this boundary can be a wake-up call. They may come to realize that they need to change their behavior if they want to maintain a connection with you. This realization is particularly powerful because it comes from within them rather than being imposed by you. When people recognize their mistakes on their own, they're more likely to take meaningful steps to address them and prevent them from happening again. Silence also provides you with the opportunity to evaluate the relationship from a distance. In the space created by your silence, you can reflect on whether the relationship is worth continuing and whether the other person has the capacity to meet your needs. This perspective is invaluable because it allows you to make decisions based on clarity and self-respect rather than emotion or impulse. In many cases, the person who ignored you will feel compelled to reconnect. They may reach out to apologize, explain their behavior, or express a desire to mend the relationship. When this happens, it's crucial to approach the situation with honesty and self-awareness. Silence has given you the time and space to understand what you want and need, so use this opportunity to communicate those needs clearly and assertively. If the relationship is to continue, it must be built on mutual respect and effort. Ultimately, the power of silence lies in its ability to foster introspection and accountability. It's a reminder that you don't have to chase after someone to prove your worth or demand their attention. By stepping back and allowing silence to do the talking, you demonstrate strength, self-respect, and confidence. And in the process, you create the possibility for growth and transformation both for yourself and for the other person. When you embrace silence and stop engaging with someone who has been ignoring you or treating you as an afterthought, something remarkable happens. You take back control of your narrative. Silence is not merely the absence of words, it is a deliberate act of self-preservation, a decision to prioritize your peace and dignity above all else. This shift often catches the other person off guard, leaving them to reckon with the consequences of their actions. In this stillness, a profound transformation takes place, both within you and in the dynamic of the relationship. Silence has a way of leveling the playing field, especially in situations where one person holds the power to hurt or manipulate the other. By choosing not to respond, you deny them the satisfaction of eliciting a reaction or keeping you in a cycle of emotional turbulence. Instead, you create a vacuum that they must fill with their own thoughts, emotions, and reflections. For someone accustomed to your present energy, this sudden void can be jarring. They may feel an unexpected sense of loss, realizing that they had taken your consistent attention and support for granted. This realization often triggers a sense of discomfort in the person who initially dismissed or overlooked you. They are forced to confront the reality of the situation without the buffer of your words or actions. Silence removes the distractions, the justifications, and the noise, leaving only the raw truth. It is in this truth that they may begin to question their own behavior, their priorities, and their role in the relationship. The absence of your engagement forces them to recognize that relationships require mutual respect and effort. Without your contributions, the imbalance becomes starkly apparent. For you, silence becomes a powerful tool for self-reflection and growth. It allows you to detach emotionally and assess the situation with clarity. In this space, you can examine the dynamics of the relationship and determine whether it aligns with your values and needs. You gain a deeper understanding of your worth and the standards you wish to uphold in your connections. This process is empowering because it shifts the focus from external validation to internal affirmation. You no longer seek acknowledgement or approval from the other person. Instead, you affirm your own value and prioritize your well-being. As the silence stretches, the other person may begin to experience a range of emotions from confusion and curiosity to regret and longing. They may start to replay past interactions, searching for clues about what went wrong and why you've chosen to step back. This introspection is often accompanied by a growing appreciation for your presence and contributions. The saying, "You don't know what you have until it's gone," rings true in these moments. They may realize the depth of your impact on their life and the void left in your absence. In some cases, this realization prompts the other person to reach out and seek reconciliation. Their outreach is often driven by a genuine desire to reconnect and address the issues that led to the silence. When this happens, it's important to approach the conversation with honesty and clarity. Silence has given you the time and space to understand your needs and boundaries, so use this opportunity to communicate them effectively. Be firm in expressing what you expect from the relationship moving forward and ensure that any reconciliation is based on mutual respect and understanding. However, silence is not about manipulating the other person into changing their behavior or seeking your approval. It is about reclaiming your power and asserting your right to peace and dignity. If the other person chooses not to reflect or make amends, that is a reflection of their own limitations, not your worth. Silence teaches you that you do not need to chase after anyone or prove your value to those who fail to recognize it. It is a testament to your strength and resilience, a declaration that you are worthy of relationships that uplift and affirm you. In the end, silence serves as a catalyst for growth and transformation. It challenges both parties to reevaluate their actions, priorities, and intentions. For the person who has ignored or dismissed you, it is an opportunity to confront their own shortcomings and take responsibility for their behavior. For you, it is a chance to rediscover your worth, redefine your boundaries, and realign your life with what truly matters. By embracing silence, you create the space for healing, growth, and the possibility of healthier, more balanced connections in the future. In this powerful exchange of energy, you find the strength to walk away from what no longer serves you and the courage to embrace what does. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of wisdom, self-respect, and unwavering belief in your own worth.